please type a message or ask a question so I can assist you further. Because it can make oneself feel no pain. Even though he was interrogated, he said everything was just futile. But when he looked at the motionless Exion in front of him, an inexplicable sense of unease crept into his heart. In the dark warehouse, the man in the red suit suddenly felt a cold little hand touching him. An indescribable sense of panic exploded in his mind in an instant. Little brother, how should I address you? Lord Snake, waiting outside, lit an expired cigar. Chatted with the gecko. I'm called Mike, and he's called Tony. The gecko smiled and took the cigar handed to him, without revealing their real names to Lord Snake. The gecko was choked by the pungent smell and coughed, while Lord Snake elegantly puffed out smoke rings. This is something from before the disaster. Rebaked. Today you guys are very confident. No matter what the situation is, you can handle me, this weak woman? Lord Snake admired the geckos, being pointed at by so many guns without even blinking an eye. Gecko did not hide this issue. He said he only had half the confidence, and it had to be in close proximity. He, showing his true colors as a man, unconsciously kept his gaze on Lord Snake. After a brief pause, he pointed to the warehouse behind him. If it were our squad leader, he wouldn't just deal with you. It's possible he would deal with everyone. He can't stand it when others are unreasonable with him. At this time, Sangbiao also asked about what happened to Azu. It turned out that Azu received a gold brick from the man in the red suit, and then he went crazy. He helped him recruit people and assisted in torturing them. Throughout, he believed he had found true love. This person's methods are quite terrifying. But the fact that both of you were able to catch him shows that you are obviously more powerful. People like you must be highly valued in Qingyang City, right? Asking about this. The gecko's face was full of pride as he truthfully spoke about his privileges in Qingyang City. The privilege to conveniently take care of business for the young lady without getting caught. But this is just one of them. He was telling Lord Snake about his feelings staying in the city. That is the way life should be. Lord Snake, it is indeed quite lively here. But there is one downside. It's a bit too crazy, boo. Inside the warehouse behind you. Suddenly there was a piercing scream in a red suit, tearing the heart and lungs. The scream was so loud that it instantly gave people goosebumps all over. I can't imagine what torture it is. Only something unimaginable could make someone scream like that. The sound contains pain and fear. Shock and fear. It even causes an indescribable shudder. Until the sound became silent. Exion opened the warehouse roller shutter door and walked out slowly. There was still a look of being frightened on his face. The gecko was stunned by this. What is he afraid of? Scared by the scream? But wasn't the scream from the man in the red suit? All questions have been asked. Due to the need to depart quickly, there is no time to send the man in the red suit back to Qingyang City. Exion asked Lord Snake if he could be kept here first. Someone from Qingyang City will come to take him back. Lord Snake just recovered from his shock earlier. Little brother Tony, do you believe me? Although Exion didn't know why she called herself Tony, she still nodded to indicate her belief. Looking at the perfectly unscathed red suit in the warehouse, Lord Snake trembled all over. He licked his lips. Believing me is a good thing, little brother, but this person isn't quite normal. Can I handle him? Monster! Monster! They're all monsters. The man in the red suit saw someone looking at him, and suddenly started screaming in hysteria, his eyes revealing a deep sense of fear. The people around watched him in his current state, feeling inexplicably oppressed. But Exion reassured everyone not to worry. He is perfectly normal now. The two of them then drove away from Blackwater Town. Exion kept praising Lord Snake, saying that he is not only generous, but also rational. Are you praising Lord Snake because she gave you a motorcycle? The gecko, who had been immersed in fear all along, finally couldn't help but speak. Not only that, Lord Snake not only gave us the red suit but also all the valuable things. The fine for shooting in town was also paid by Lord Snake. He even helped us refuel for free. He also gave us food and local specialties as gifts. It is regrettable that there is one thing that both of them feel sympathetic about. Due to regulations, they cannot leave their contact details for Lord Snake. Seeing that the gecko finally spoke, Exion had a heartfelt conversation with him. Exion thought that while in Blackwater Town, he had ordered the gecko as a captain, which made him unhappy. After all, this is in the Department of Special Circumstances. The first peer colleague I got to know. Also the teammate I have cooperated with the most. Exion expressed that he really considers the gecko as a friend. The gecko was so excited after hearing that. Brother, you are quite chatty. We are not just friends. We are brothers. It seems like you've figured something out. He carefully asked Exion again. Are your uncle, auntie, and little sister okay with us being friends? Exion subconsciously glanced at her mother sitting in the back seat, touching up her makeup. And his mother just kindly reminded him. When making friends, sometimes you can't really tell them everything. Otherwise, it will only create distance. Gecko asked Exion what was interrogated in Blackwater Town. Why are you so anxious to set out? He took out a small notebook and told Gecko everything he had been interrogated. The real name of Red Suit is Chongchen. The details even included how many women Red Suit had. 3 years ago, he caught Ran Qin's eye. From him, he learned that Ran Qin's real name is Sihua Shang. After a confrontation, Ran Qin did not kill him. Instead, she invited him to join the Knights. Ran Qin is the captain responsible for accepting commission tasks. Every time they receive a commission, Ran Qin contacts them to arrange a place for delivery. This time, they went to Qingyang City just to steal that painting. Also, detonate the Crying Boy's spiritual pollution bomb, record the data, and hand it over to the organization that sells bombs. In their team, there are 3 power users and 4 experienced mercenaries. The Rose contamination event was created by a member named Big Head Ghost. They have an agreement among themselves not to actively inquire about each other's powers. But for Ran Qin, he only left one word. Unkillable. Unkillable? Gecko was also stunned after hearing it. Could it be that Ran Qin is really like their internal speculation, capable of regeneration? The battles among power users are already extremely dangerous, especially when facing power users with unknown powers. But a smile gradually appeared on Exion's face. Because he inquired about the whereabouts of Ran Qin. His father, who is imprisoned in the old building, is gulping down strong liquor to suppress that unprecedented sense of anticipation in his heart. The once most powerful ultimate, with the strongest pollution power he possesses. Finally, he welcomes an opportunity for release. And this opportunity is soon to come. Because Exion found Ran Qin's hiding place from the mouth of the man in the red suit. At the end of Highway 85. A place called Happy Town. Upon hearing this name, the gecko quickly stepped on the brake. The off-road vehicle, traveling at high speed, suddenly came to a halt. 17, who had just climbed onto the roof, was once again thrown out by the sudden acceleration. His face was tense and trembling. He could not believe it, and confirmed with Exion again. What the gecko did not know is 17 is lying on the car hood. He is glaring at him ferociously, baring his teeth. He quickly pulled out a map, pointing to an area marked with skulls. The area he pointed to is exactly the region of Happy Town. Skull heads marked on the map. It means this area is off limits. Otherwise, there is no way back. Although Qingyang City has now explored the surrounding major forces and abandoned cities, there are still some extremely mysterious areas that they know nothing about to this day. Such places are called the Forbidden Area. As long as you enter the restricted area, you will either go crazy or disappear. And this Happy Town can be said to be the most dangerous one. It sounds like a great place to travel, doesn't it? After listening to the gecko's words, Mom looked at 17 and smiled. 17, who had just climbed into the car, excitedly nodded vigorously, already throwing the unhappiness from just now to the back of his mind. Seeing that the family members have all expressed their opinions, Xian casually let the gecko set off directly. Whether or not the restricted area, people still need to be caught back. The gecko really doesn't want to go to that unknown and terrifying place. But he has no room to refuse at all. He dare not refuse. He reported the latest situation to the headquarters. It led to the main culprit of BL in Qingyang City, Ranqin. It is highly likely that he is hiding in Happy Town, as suggested by the single unit of the Special Task Force. They will continue the investigation in Happy Town. After reporting, Gecko looked very down. He handed a tablet to Xian. Originally still holding hope for the headquarters meeting, he strongly tried to dissuade them from entering. But things turned out contrary to expectations. Headquarters unexpectedly agreed, and even sent them the information they currently know. They mentioned that it would be a good opportunity to explore these mysterious areas. Bringing back the records could also serve as a mission. That's it. Gecko reluctantly drove towards the direction of Happy Town. Xian sat in the car, looking at the limited information displayed on the tablet. S-level forbidden area Happy Town. Approaching this area will cause dizziness, irritability, fainting, hallucinations, spasms, and other reactions. Going deeper than 50 meters into the psychic power field will lead to inability to return and disappearance from the sight of all witnesses. He saw a photo as he slid the screen. They are residents of Happy Town. Their wooden expressions always carry a smile. It is said in the records that the town was first found to be unusual 10 years ago. This place is isolated from the world and has little contact with people. However, residents occasionally go out. They exchange some daily necessities with people outside in exchange for food. Someone once detained residents for questioning while they were out. However, on the same night, the residents of Happy Town, along with the interrogators and interrogation reports, mysteriously disappeared without a trace. The road to Happy Town unexpectedly clear. They quickly arrived just 10 kilometers away from Happy Town. Due to the darkness and a long day of driving, they decided not to continue. They chose to take a rest for the night. Watching Gecko checking the firearm in his hand, Xian knew he was under a lot of mental pressure. Xian smiled and reassured him not to be afraid. He would go in by himself when the time comes. After completing the task, he would signal Gecko. "Bro, you also see that I'm scared, huh?" Seeing through his inner vulnerability, Gecko directly came clean. "I'm sorry to hear that." Before the power appears. "Bro, I'm just a little bully. The kind that gets beaten up every day. Don't be fooled by how suave I am now. It's all an act I put on. But we have already come out to do things together. How can we not take any responsibility? This time, no matter what monsters are inside, I will go in with you and face it together. Anyway, I have brought plenty of special bullets. I am not afraid of anything." Gecko's sincerity touched Xian slightly. However, he still decided to let Gecko guard outside. "This town. It's better for you not to go in. It's too dangerous." He stood up and looked towards the direction of Qingyang City. The crimson moonlight enveloped the entire old building. Xian seemed to be able to see his father inside the house. Xian was full of anticipation, brewing a certain power. After all, he had promised him. The danger that I mentioned. Not referring to Happy Town. But me instead. He told the Gecko truthfully. If Happy Town is very dangerous, then I might be even more dangerous. Bringing back Ranqin and the others to Qingyang City was his own idea, not Gecko's. So Xian doesn't want to drag him into this. Otherwise, if something really goes wrong, he would feel quite guilty. The night has passed. Gecko has prepared the supplies for Xian. As the car goes further, the road becomes harder to navigate. They can only walk in on foot through a small path. After saying hello to Gecko, Xian got off the car carrying a backpack. His mother and sister also got off with him. Seeing Xian looking like he was going on an outing, Gecko couldn't help but marvel at his courage. The path was shrouded in fog, and the visibility was getting lower. Vaguely, Gecko seemed to see two shadows, one tall and one short, beside Xian. Could it be his family? And, is there one more? The gecko was suddenly panicked. Subconsciously, it turned its head to look at the empty carriage. Uncle, it's all in the past now. Are you not going? The journey is even farther than Xian imagined. Mom found that she disappeared after walking for a while, thinking that she probably got lost. High heels must be hard to walk in. Suddenly, 17 pointed to a distance and asked his older brother to look quickly, looking up in the direction indicated by his younger sister. A sudden feeling of dizziness and blurred vision hit instantly. It's like watching an old TV screen, with various static and ghostly images flickering from time to time. This place is designated as an S-level forbidden area called Happy Town. The residents inside always have a happy smile on their faces. Just as Xian approached the town, her vision suddenly became blurry. The brain felt as if it had experienced some kind of impact. He composed himself. The headache gradually faded away. Everything in front of his eyes began to clear up. He soon realized that he was in the middle of a farmland, anticipating that he might run into some trouble next. After all, the other side still has 2 power users, coupled with the fact that Happy Town itself is somewhat dangerous. Are you scared of him, little sister? I had promised my father before I came out this time to let him out to help. 17, however, waved his little fist to show that he was not afraid, and also threatened to wait until he grew up. He definitely wanted to turn him into a toy. Hit him every day. I'm scared. He has never been here. Ignoring Xian's confusion, 17, who had come out of his embrace, pointed forward. Brother, we have arrived. What puzzled Xian was that when he separated from the gecko, it was clearly morning, but now the red moon had already risen. Could it be that he had walked for a whole day? Walking along the way, they arrived at a flower field. He recorded what he saw in his notebook, detailing how well the crops were growing in the fields. After all, headquarters had also mentioned that this exploration was an extra task. Since it was a task, there would be a reward, so he had to keep a record. All the people in the flower field suddenly turned their gaze towards him, looking at him with friendly smiles on their faces. Xian couldn't help but sigh. These are truly a group of hardworking people, working so late. He walked towards the closest girl to him and politely greeted her. Then, he took out a photo of Ranqin, wanting to inquire about Ranqin's whereabouts. However, the girl remained motionless, smiling at Xian. It seemed like he needed to offer something in return. So, he reluctantly reached into his pocket, thinking he could later reimburse it to headquarters. Can you tell me like this? Seeing the girl reach out to take the 50 yuan he handed her, Xian quietly waited for her response. The girl held the money in her hand, but did not answer his question. She still maintained a kind smile, looking at Xian. If you don't want to say, it's fine. Xian prepared to take back his money, but he found that the girl had no intention of letting go. She was still holding tightly onto the 50 yuan. This made Xian a little angry, but he was also afraid of pulling the money too hard and tearing it. The sister standing aside couldn't bear to watch and also came over to help her brother. At 17 broke the girl's fingers one by one. The 50 pieces were finally intact. They returned to Xian's pocket. Since she refused to talk, Xian had to find out on her own. And the girl seemed to start acting strangely. She silently watched Xian enter the town. Upon entering the town, what came into view were rows of connected houses. The scale was huge, feeling like it could accommodate tens of thousands of people. Yet it was unusually quiet. Xian grabbed the doorknob of one of the doors, wanting to open it and take a look inside. Thinking of Ranqin and the others, they should be hiding in one of these houses. Just as she was about to open the door, suddenly, There was a clicking sound behind her. Looking back, she saw her mom taking out scissors from her shoulder bag. She didn't know when her mom appeared beside her. She smiled and explained to Xian. Just now, you almost got some dirt on you. It's a very nice town here. It's not only peaceful, but the flowers and houses are also nice. Compared to the chaotic Blackwater town, this place is like paradise. Xian also agreed with her mom's words. The people here are very friendly too. As soon as she finished speaking, they heard rustling sounds coming from not far away. Turning around to look carefully, Xian noticed a dense crowd hiding in the shadows, holding various weapons and staring intensely at them. This made Xian feel strange. How did they suddenly become like this? They were very polite just now. It's none of my business. Xian's mom shrugged in response to the situation. Recalling that something almost stained him just now, after being cut off by his mother, these people became hostile towards him. Fortunately, they don't seem to be rushing up immediately. Xian still feels that it is important to find Ranqin first. But the people here aren't speaking, so he can only search room by room. When Xian was utterly clueless, his mother smiled and said, When you and your sister were fighting over someone else's money, I was already in town. It seems that not all rooms had lights just now. Xian instantly found his way with his mother's words. The townspeople are accustomed to living in the dark, but Ranqin and his friends don't have this habit. He quickly asked his mother which room had lights on. It seems to be over there. His mother pointed in a direction. She didn't see clearly, as she was too busy admiring the beautiful flowers. There are so many malicious people this time. Sister, you didn't even demand toys? Following the direction his mom pointed, they walked along the way. More and more dark shadows gathered behind them. Seeing his brother casting strange glances, 17 pursed her lips and said disdainfully that they were already toys, things that had been played with by others. She didn't want them. At this moment, the mother stopped her steps. She only vaguely remembered it was around this location, but couldn't recall the specific room. Then she picked up the scissors again and gently made a cut behind Xian. Did you smell anything? Xian suddenly sniffed her nose, seeming to have caught a familiar scent. It's the smell of meat. Instantly, I remembered the first time I met Ranqin. He always seemed like he could never eat enough. It seems they should be nearby. Xian is worried that they might escape in the confusion, as she can't pinpoint which one it is. The residents also seem like they can't hold back much longer. At this moment, a little boy emerged from the crowd and ran towards Xian. Uncle, eat a jujube. The boy offered a sour jujube he held in his hand. Xian, seeing the sincerity on the boy's face, did not refuse. She took the jujube and handed it to 17. Suddenly, she had an idea of how to find Ranqin among all these houses. The pine and cypress on the hill behind are easily flammable. Let's go get some and set this entire room on fire. This way, we won't have to go and open the doors one by one. The people inside will come out on their own. Just as Xian was about to act, a voice came from the room. You are not really going to do this, are you? The person who opened the wooden door is none other than Ranqin, the one I was looking for. Facing this unknown and seemingly invincible power user, what will Xian do? The father inside the old building is already restless. Perhaps it is really time to let him come out. Spanning over 1,000 miles, finally seeing Ranqin, who has been searched for many days in Happy Town. Xian can find his way here. I can infer that Chongqing, wearing a red suit, must have fallen into his hands. Based on Ranqin's understanding of Chongqing, he wouldn't confess so quickly. He's not afraid of pain. Besides, they had a prior agreement that even if captured, he must hold out for 3 days before talking. Therefore, Ranqin is very curious about what Xian has done to him. Strictly speaking, I didn't do anything to him personally, he confessed voluntarily. After killing so many people in Qingyang City, he should have expected us to come looking for him. Ranqin was a little surprised after hearing this. He thought the urgency was due to the discovery of the value of that painting. He didn't expect it was for those who died in Qingyang City. He couldn't help but burst into laughter. He told Xian what he was thinking in his heart. As a power user, for ordinary people, we are like gods. What are a few lives worth? Under the red moon is our world. We do whatever we want. Xian seems to be watching a lunatic. It's not just a few lives. Those are all living people. You should read more books. The textbook says that there is no God in this world. Even if there is, it wouldn't be like you. So at most, you're just a lunatic. He walked forward step by step. His mother behind him reminded Xian to be careful at this moment. Ran Qin's laughter suddenly quieted down. He stared coldly at Xian, who was coming towards him. In the room behind him, a sudden flash of firelight appeared. Deafening gunfire followed closely behind. The dense bullets blocked Xian's forward steps. If she retreats to dodge the bullets at this moment, Ran Qin will escape. But Ran Qin is right within shouting distance. He doesn't want to retreat. Go. Go do what you want to do. A gentle voice sounded in your ears. Mother quietly came to his side. She took the bullet pouring down like a storm for him. Bullets kept hitting her, one after another. But Mother remained elegant as ever. She even seemed to show a hint of excitement. Xian quickly pounced towards Ran Qin, who was about to escape. The power of Ran Qin is unknown in the data, although Xian is unsure how to defeat Ran Qin. But just like dealing with a modified human, damaging his spine surely wouldn't hurt. When he lifted his hand and accurately targeted Ran Qin's spine, Ran Qin, who was originally facing away from him, suddenly turned around and shot. Xian dodged in a strange and contorted manner, avoiding Ran Qin's bullets skillfully as it grazed past him. Ran Qin was instantly surprised. He knew well that once caught in Spider Classic's close combat, he had no chance of contending with it. Xian's 5 fingers were already reaching out, originally aimed at grabbing his spine. But since he suddenly turned around, then goes straight for the heart. With a splashing sound, his palm pierced Ran Qin's chest fiercely. Xian tightened his 5 fingers and gripped it tightly, feeling the warm and surging sensation in his palm. Then, he forcefully pulled it outwards. Under the moonlight, the heart, still beating, appeared particularly crimson. Ran Qin, whose heart had been removed, showed no sign of pain. Instead, he even revealed a hint of smile. A soft sigh from his mother could be heard behind him. Xian finally realized what had happened. Oops. Accidentally used lethal force. He hurriedly stuffed the heart back in. He thought thankfully it wasn't squeezed to burst. It should still be usable. Recalling the previous Wang Chui incident, everything started with the killing of Ran Qin. After Wang Chui killed Ran Qin, Wang Chui became like Ran Qin. Then, there were countless people seeking revenge on him. What will happen this time? Ran Qin, who had fallen to the ground and died. At this moment, changes started to occur on his body. A tree rapidly grew out of his body, continuously extending upwards. After a while, the tree trunk sprouted a vine, resembling a living creature. Xian quietly exclaimed, "Not good!" Quickly withdrew and retreated backwards. The vines high above swung at this moment, suddenly rushing towards Xian's position. No, its target is not me. Xian realized something was wrong, quickly tearing off the vine blocking beside him. But it was too late. The vine's target was indeed the townspeople. Only to see the resident, who was entwined. The smile that was originally on their face began to change. The pupils began to dilate. They stared fiercely at Xian. "Siwu Zhang! How dare you harm me?" He shouted Ran Qin's real name, waving the sickle in his hand as he charged towards Xian. In his eyes, Xian turned into Ran Qin. Recalling the previous Wang Chui incident, Xian realized he couldn't kill this resident. If one was killed, 2 more would come. It would keep increasing. But things turned out contrary to his wishes. Xian didn't kill him. Instead, he turned the sickle towards his own throat. With hatred still lingering in his mouth, he shouted, "Siwa Zhang, I will definitely kill you, even if I die. I will kill you for sure too." Self-destruction. This scene seems familiar, just like those people trapped in the basement at that time. When it becomes clear that revenge is hopeless, they begin to attack each other. Completing the steps of revenge and being killed opens the next phase. The residents of this town feel that they cannot kill Xian, so they choose to commit suicide directly. They have completed this step. The tree of Ranqin has grown a second vine again. Although Xian tried to cut it off, the severed vine still seemed to possess a life of its own, flying forward. Eventually, it entwined around the bodies of two residents. The same as the first one. Their expressions began to change. The residents are so foolish that it gives Xian a headache. Even with so much happening around them, they still foolishly gather here. This has completely become Ranqin's nourishment. Could it be that Ranqin chose to hide here because of this characteristic of the townspeople? How to break this cycle? When Xian was about to tear Ranqin's body directly. Mother, however, does not recommend it. Tearing him apart now will only create two pollution sources, and will instead help him spread faster. 17's eyes lit up with excitement, urging his older brother to hurry up. And that tree is continuing to grow at a crazy speed. More and more residents are being affected by pollution. The rate of revenge this time is even faster than the Wang Chui incident. There is almost no time gap. The situation makes Xian feel helpless. If Ranqin cannot be torn apart, then just let father come over to resolve it directly. At the moment when his whole body was cursed, Xian finally made a decision. With a bang, the door of the old building in Qingyang City rang out. That man was released. At first, Xian felt that this timing was not suitable for letting father out. He knew well that with father's temper, he wouldn't tolerate being pursued by these avengers. He would swiftly deal with them. Instead, he directly accelerated the contamination power of Ranqin crazily. In a way, father and Ranqin are a perfect match. Soon, it won't be long before the entire town is contaminated. I have also thought about letting my sister directly gnaw on that tree. But this time Ranqin is different from the last time. Worried that my sister might eat it. Not necessarily easy to digest. Xian dodged the vengeful residents while analyzing Ranqin's power. Ranqin, once killed, will turn into a pollution source contaminating the surrounding people and turning them into a part of itself. But why would those polluted individuals seek revenge on Ranqin? Also, why did the pollution speed of Ranqin increase this time? Watching Xian's distressed and thoughtful look, his mother's gentle voice sounded behind him. Why must it be understood as his power? Why can't it be the price he paid? Yes. After Ranqin becomes pollution source, it will devour the spirits of the people nearby, turning them into part of itself. However, these contaminated people hold great hatred towards Ranqin. They want to kill Ranqin. This is the price Ranqin has to pay for contaminating others. Mom's words. Xian's mind, full of doubts, suddenly became clear. And Ranqin is the one who transferred the hatred of these people towards him onto Xian. The residents mistook Xian for Ranqin, hence seeking revenge on him. The tree, with more and more consumed spirits, started growing human-shaped fruits along its vines one by one. It's like a curse. But how did Ranqin transfer the hatred towards himself to Xian? Xian escaped all the way and came to his mother's side. Found it. It seems that Xian's mother has found something in Xian. Click. A sudden intense pain came from the back. It looks like it is Ranqin who makes these villagers hate you. Xian lowered his head and looked at the object thrown out by his mother. It turned out to be a face that looks like Ranqin. It grew on Xian's body without him knowing. Seeing the flesh that was cut off and fell on the ground, all the Avengers rushed up immediately. They were like hungry ghosts, crazily devouring Ran Qin's face with endless hatred. Xian finally understood why Wang Chui had turned into Ran Qin back then. Luckily, with the help of family, they made it through. The Avengers suddenly stopped all movements. Their expressions started to look confused. It seems that after they devoured that piece of skin, it was equivalent to completing their revenge. The grudges were also eliminated along with it. The pollution has stopped. Something seems to have appeared on the trunk of the tree. 17 also seems to have discovered something and ran towards the side. Great! I feel this growth rate for the first time. The tree outlined the face of Ran Qin, staring at Xian. Its growth rate depends on the cursed target. The higher the spiritual level of the cursed person, the faster it grows. What an enviable power! How powerful you must be to help me complete the 5th set of pollution so quickly. You are special. I didn't expect that the runaway laboratory mission would be completed unexpectedly at the last moment. The runaway laboratory? Xian looked up suddenly at Ran Qin. This name gave him a strange feeling. It must end. Mom's face suddenly turned cold when she heard this name. Looking at the face that was about to disappear, Xian quickly stood up. Although there were some doubts, the first priority was still to deal with Ran Qin. Each power system has 3 powers. If Ran Qin's curse and the contamination of the human-shaped fruit tree are his 2 powers, then what would his 3rd power be? You are not allowed to harm him. The big-headed boy hiding in the room suddenly shouted at Xian. His words made Xian hesitate for a moment, unable to refuse. The thought of giving up attacking Ran Qin arose. You seem to have accepted a gift you shouldn't have accepted. Xian, who seemed a bit distracted, looked at Ran Qin emerging from the tree trunk with a sinister smile. The next second, a hand suddenly reached out, tightly gripping the neck of the face about to merge into the tree trunk. The sudden move caught Ran Qin off guard. Xian looked at it with indifference. He did receive a gift of sour dates, but he gave them to his sister to eat. Is it the person who spreads red roses in Qingyang City? As long as you accept his things, will you develop a good impression of him? My sister has already gone to find him. You may not know. My sister will do whatever it takes for the things she likes. Sister? Your power should be Spider Classic. Xian's answer makes that face a bit hard to read. It seems like you don't know everything either. Xian is exerting strength with all 5 fingers. He forcefully pulled Ran Qin, who was embedded in the tree trunk, out. This kind of forced separation made him feel as if his tendons and bones were being torn apart. His vitality quickly dissipated, like a piece of wood withering away. In an instant, all the human-shaped fruits on the tree suddenly opened their eyes. One Ran Qin died, and countless Ran Qin on the tree came back to life. They all attacked Xian at the same time. 17 was not by his side at this moment. This made Xian's movements less agile. Although he forcibly borrowed power from his younger sister, he managed to evade the fatal attacks partly. But he still couldn't completely avoid it. Ran Qin's face appeared wherever his body was touched. All the Ran Qin on the trees burst into loud laughter. The noisy sound made Xian feel extremely annoyed. Every time another face appeared, it felt like his consciousness was being stripped away. The pollution radiation range is getting wider. Almost all the residents in the town have been affected. I am you. Give yourself to me. Various noisy voices were assaulting Xian's brain. It was as if there were countless people talking beside him. It seems that the time has come. Xian's mother looked a little distressed as she watched. At the same time, she shielded him from most of the attacks. Xian did not object. He looked towards Qingyang City. At this moment, the door of room 401 opened automatically. The entire old building shook intensely and loudly in an instant. A black shadow under Xian's feet continued to expand. It is time to let him breathe and relax a bit. Father's giant figure suddenly stood up. The heavy and powerful voice resounded throughout Happy Town, shocking Xian, who was borrowing his father's power for the first time, with a tremor of fear that touched the soul.